hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
I can't lie!
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.
We're back with another episode of Entertainment X, and today with me is the one and only Nakiya P.
Hey everyone.
So Nakiya, as you can tell with these themes, are every time I start something new, you are my first guinea pig.
I'm thankful.
Yeah. So we're talking here on the podcast, but you can also watch this interview on YouTube. So check it out. The links will be up. Happy holidays. This is coming out. It's Christmas Eve, end of December, almost beginning of a new year.
Wow, that was fast.
Wasn't it? 2018 was correct. We're going to talk about a number of things, including love, gratitude, compassion, empathy, goals. We're going to hit it all. So I want to start with, you know what I want to start with? I want to start with people's attitudes and how they can shift in the winter months, because December 21st is the shortest day of the year, and light, actual sunlight, is important to humans. So what are your thoughts on that? How are you staying positive in the shorter days of the year?
I think, first of all, it's more about like the time of the year and the stigma it already has. So people are already stressed because they know they have to spend more money during this time of year with the gifts, with all the things, you know what I mean? So on top of that, then all of a sudden the sun is like, hey, how you doing? And right when you're ready to really warm up to it, it's like, I gotta go, I'll see you another time. And you're, you're hurt. You're like, please don't do this to me. I just woke up. And for me personally, I am not handling it as well as I really want to, because I am all about that sunlight. The sunlight matters to me. I love the sun. I love the warmth. So it's a little harder for me just because it's cold and the dark just seems to last forever, especially if you happen to be out during that early transition. So you like go underground and it's light outside and you come back out and it's dark and you're like, it's 5 p.m. It's too early for this.
It's too early for all this.
I try to really focus on the light that I do have, the sunlight when it's out. I really try to just like look at it and say, please stay. And then I also try to give myself a lot of work to do, especially because I don't live near all of my family, so I don't really go home for the holidays, so it makes it also harder. If I give myself work, I can stay busy that way and keep my mind off of what this time of year can be for some people.
Now, for people who heard your first episode a year ago.
A year ago?
Yeah, January 1st, 2018 is when we chatted. It came out February 5th.
Wow.
Hot minute. We talked about exercise and how you like to exercise at the
gym.
Very. I was going to say ass crack of dawn, and then I was like, maybe not. But now that I said it, she likes to exercise at the gym.
I thought you were losing the word. I was like, don't you know what it's called?
No, you like to exercise at like 2 a.m.
You're not 2 a.m.
I'm kidding. Like 4:45, 5 o'clock?
4:40 is my alarm.
Okay, so level with me. Is there a self-talk that you're using when you wake up at that hour? Because it's particularly difficult for me to get up. I mean, it's difficult for people to get up at that hour.
Right.
So I'm curious, like, what is your self-talk?
So a couple of things. When I first got like really serious about my fitness, I had to be going to the gym at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I say I had to, as in I had no choice because of where I was. So I didn't have a car. And the only way to get to the gym was by a vehicle. I was in Rochester at the time, so it would have taken me like an hour and 30 minutes to walk to the gym. Okay. So walking was not an option. And my mother had to work. I want to say she had to be to work at around 7 something in the morning. So I would typically spend about an hour to an hour and a half at the gym. So I had to be up and in that gym at 5 a.m. So I had to condition myself because that's how it had to be, or else I would miss my workout.
Did you start that at home?
I started that in Rochester. I had never done that before then. And so I started out of necessity. And then I went away from it, would go any time of the day or not go. And then now that I'm really back to making sure I get on a schedule that I like, I'm back to that hour because not only because I'm used to it, but because I've realized that I don't like crowded gyms. I don't like the feeling of not always knowing what I'm doing in the gym when other people are there. And I also know that as the day gets longer, I make so many more excuses about the gym. So the self-talk I have with myself is, it's the truth. So my self-talk is, let's be honest.
Yeah.
What time are people going to start packing into the gym? I know what time people are going to start packing into the gym.
Right.
So I'm like, okay, so either you can go really early or you can go really late. Are you actually going to go really late after a whole day? No. When it hits about 8 a.m., I don't even want to hit the gym. Yeah. After 8 a.m., I'm more like, nah. So
I have other things to do. My day is starting.
And literally, I could sit around all day and do nothing.
Yeah.
But once 8 a.m. hits, I'm like, I probably won't make it today. And it's the truth. It's my truth. So
it's the excuses we tell ourselves. It's
I'm
crazy.
telling you. So I go in the morning. I get up at that time because I know that my fitness and my health really, really, really matter to me. Yeah. And if I'm going to be dedicated to it, I have to discipline myself to choose that hour. So,
there was a quote that I heard. Actually, it was Alton Fitzgerald White, that episode.
Yes.
You remember that one?
Yes.
Check it out if you haven't listened to it.
Amazing.
He said, oh no.
The greatest gift.
The greatest gift you can give yourself is discipline.
Yes.
I was going to say discipline equals freedom, which is another one that I've heard. But it's true. The greatest gift you can give yourself is discipline. Because without it, things fall apart.
It's true. It's true.
How have you gotten better at disciplining yourself? Keeping yourself disciplined. It sounds like a timeout. How do you get better at putting yourself in timeout?
Well,
how have you gotten better at keeping yourself disciplined?
Keeping myself honest. That is how I work towards the discipline. So if I tell myself, okay, Nakiya, how will you feel if you don't go to the gym today? Well, I'm going to feel like crap. Yeah. When you feel like crap, what do you want to eat? Crap. So now
crap begets crap.
Right. So now not only am I not going to the gym, but I'm going to spend the whole entire day spending money I don't need to be spending on junk food because of course there's food in the house, but none of that is junk food because I've told myself I'm being healthy. So why would I purchase junk food for me to eat? You all know what I
They do. I know what you're saying.
You're
exactly
like, oh
what
my
saying.
gosh, what am I going to do with these carrots? I don't want these
Oh my
carrots.
goodness.
So, I'm honest with myself.
That's spring mix.
And I just bought some today, this morning, right after the gym.
Come on.
So that's what I do. And I'm working towards replacing the word honesty with discipline. Because I know that once I actually start really incorporating this is a discipline, this is a discipline, this is a discipline, then it'll really be, in my core. Yeah. Instead of me just, because it's easy to lie to yourself. Yeah. But once you're disciplined in something, you don't become undisciplined because you've done it for so long that it is in you.
Muscle memory.
Yeah. So that's what I do. I stay honest. And then especially ever since hearing that episode, it really helped me because I was like, you know what? It is a gift. And I don't have to spend money for it. I don't have to ask someone else to gift it to me. I don't have to outsource it anywhere or do any of that stuff. I can literally just cultivate it within myself and gift myself every single day with that discipline. And that's exciting.
Yeah. Honesty, replacing the word discipline with honest.
No, replacing the word honest with disciplined.
That's what I was going to say. There's a siren passing. So
there's no emergency.
There probably is. Okay, so specifically with the holidays, I know a lot of people who are living on their own or just moved to the city or, they're figuring out their life path and money may not be numero uno in their life. It can be difficult to navigate this whole gift-giving situation and how there's not only do I pay rent, but now I have to, budget whatever, a couple $100 per person in your family. I don't know what family's doing that. I'm not, but
I'm about to say, I'll take a gift.
How are you navigating that? Or what advice would you have to someone who is going through that? Again, you can use this next year as
right.
episode is coming out on the eve of Xmas. But anything come to mind?
Well, for myself personally, I don't engage in gift exchange. And that's not because I don't want to, but because I know for my needs that that's not possible. And I don't have family members who have a problem with that, like immediate family. No one in my house is like, Nakiya, you didn't give me a gift this year, blah, 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 blah. And my nephew, love him, he's the cutest little boy in the world. He's not also, he's also not doing that. It's like when he gets a gift, he's like, oh my gosh, I got a gift. And I can give him a gift anytime. And I don't think that we should feel pressured, anyone should feel pressured to have to give gifts at this time of year.
Yeah.
If you can't do it in Christmas, but at Christmas time, but like every year your money is looking real cute in June, give gifts in June. Who's going to say, I don't want this gift because it's not Christmas?
But that doesn't fit the social standard.
Social standards are for weird people.
They're for the majority of the world.
Oh, sorry. For the majority of the world. But you know
no,
what I
I
mean?
say that though because that's the thought I mean, that was my initial trained, it's learned behavior, but that's the initial thought that came to my mind.
Yeah.
But I like that.
No, I'm very, growing up, it was always like that. My mom would give us money to get each other things, or we would go to the store with her when she would go gift buying for the other siblings and be like, oh yeah, I think that would. So, it's not that it's something I'm not used to, but as an adult, I had to come into my own understanding of what will work for you. And that was really big for me because I'm really big on giving, whether it's giving of myself or giving of personal things. That's just who I am as a person. So it was difficult for me to be like, oh no, this is a certain time where socially people do this and now I can't do this. But I came to terms with that and I'm fine with that. And I would say to anyone who doesn't do that and is used to giving gifts and stuff like that, if you can't afford it, don't do it. The people who love you and appreciate you are obviously the people you're giving gifts to, unless you're just giving gifts to people you don't know, which you could also do. But those people in your life, none of those people should be saying to you, I gave you something, where's my gift? If they don't understand that you couldn't do it this time around, well, maybe you should reevaluate that situation. And that's whoever they are. There's not one person in this world, no matter their status in your life, who should make you feel guilty for doing what's best for you.
Can you repeat that?
There is not a person
No, it's just
in
I
your
like
life.
it.
There is not a person in your life, no matter the status of their situation in your life, who should make you feel guilty for doing what's best for you.
Yeah.
And that's just the honest truth. So
I know, like, putting yourself in debt over buying gifts and what, credit card bills go through the roof this time of year. So that's really,
they sure do.
it's true.
Yeah. You got to be smart. You have to be smart.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really important. You're particularly good at gifting your time.
Yeah.
And surprising people, which I really like. You're like, she's the queen of surprising people. She really is. She does it to her poor mother. She's not poor, but poor mother.
Yeah.
That's so important. Oh, yeah, and this is something I noticed, and that I bring it up a lot, the travels I took to the Philippines a while back. And prior to that moment, I had never realized how important actual time with another person you love, how important that is over material items.
Oh, yeah.
So much more important. And that's when you can really realize, oh, this is what matters in life.
Exactly. And a lot of those gifts and things you get people, they don't last for forever.
Most of them get put in a drawer.
Exactly.
So this little funny thing I want to throw in here, because now we're talking about gifts. I had read a book a while back about finding out who someone is, and when you communicate with them, finding out what their language is, almost like a love language, but it's not love language. Some people use the words like see, scope, landscape. Other people use like hear, sound. Like that doesn't sound right to me. I hear it this way. And other people have come from a feeling place of like, oh, that doesn't feel right. I don't like how that sits in my stomach. Those kind of words. And if you're paying attention to those words when you can communicate with someone, you can actually get them a more thoughtful gift. Because someone who's prone to like sound, a soundtrack would be a lot more thoughtful than say a picture.
Right.
I'm very visual. She seems to know that. And you made that the painting that I got a couple years back. It was like, that's so great because that's exactly what I am in tune with.
Right.
Great. We're back.
Yes.
Here we are, Nakiya. Okay, so the new year coming up. What are you looking towards in terms of goals? How have you, and this is actually a two-part question. So I want to start with, what have you learned most about yourself from this past year?
Oh, I've learned so much. Okay, I would say what I have learned most in this past year is that I am more than I give myself credit for. I was being so limiting on my gifts, on my understanding of life, of my understanding of my life, on the world around me. I was just allowing myself to think in this very narrow way and didn't realize it until I had to force myself out of that so I could grow in ways that I really wanted to grow.
How did you force yourself out of it?
I went through a little stint of isolation. So I just isolated myself from people, from friends, from family. I didn't talk about anything that was going on. I neglected myself. And in that process, I just ended up in this really heavy place. And I said, I know that this isn't me. So I have to figure out a way out of this. And in that figuring out, that's where I was able to break out of it, because I knew what it was like to be in that place again. So when I was breaking out, I was like, oh, I'm in that place again, like that comfy place. And I was like, no, because that place didn't work last time. So now we have to keep going.
Yeah.
So I stretched beyond where I was before. And now my mind is almost back in a place that's kind of like, we used to think like this before. You know what happened? It's a very familiar place that I'm in. I'm not in a new place. I'm just back to a place that I have been before.
I'm following.
Are you?
Yeah, kind of. So you isolated yourself to become more in tune with yourself? Or is this a decreasing, getting rid of variables? Like if I strip everything away.
Yes.
Like when we lit this shot that we're in right now, we start with nothing. We start with one light, another light, and we slowly add them back in. So is that what you've done?
And that's what I did, yes, because I had to see if where I was because of certain people that I allowed in my life, or certain situations that I allowed to happen. So I had to I had to get into a corner by myself. Away from those things. Yes, a corner. It was a corner. I wish it was not a corner, but it was. It was very cold and dark. But
We're back.
and we're back. Yes. No. So I put myself in that corner so I could see objectively. I could say, "Is this? Oh no, I'm no longer involved with this person. How does this make me feel?" Or I took away this situation. How does this make me feel? Like, this year, for a good amount of this year, I was vegan, and I was working on the ship in the beginning part of the year, and it had become increasingly. It's been a long year.
It became increasingly.
It became increasingly difficult to sustain that lifestyle, and I kept asking myself. Well, not asking myself. I kept demanding myself to get it right, because on the ship, we didn't have access to all the foods that were best for that lifestyle. And I was like, oh no, now I need to compromise here. I need to compromise here. And it turned into me eating a lot of junk food and peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. And instead of me just literally just being like, you know what, Nakiya, if it can't be done right now, that's okay. Go to something, go back to whatever you want to go back to, and just be mindful of it. I allowed myself to stay in this heavy wheel of, but this is not working, but there's vegan junk food, so let's just go there, and then this isn't working, and it was just a cycle. And I was like, you know, I have to let it go. And that's okay that I have to let it go, because just because you decide something today doesn't mean you have to stick with it tomorrow. And I was able to do that with every situation in my life when I was back in that corner.
Yeah.
Able to look at every single one. And since then, I've been able to add some things back in, or to push some things away.
Keep them out.
Or keep them out, exactly.
What have you learned most about yourself, or what have you grown in terms of, how have you grown in terms of work ethic? Or have you? Is it always good?
I've always had a strong
good.
work ethic, but I do think it's different. I think I'm working more efficiently now.
How?
I would say I am not giving energy to things that other people think I should give energy to.
Like?
So certain auditions, like an audition will come up and it'll have me written all over it. And I'm at the place in my life, it's true.
Yeah.
It'll have me written all over it, and I'm at the place in my life where I'm like, you know what? Just because it says Nakiya doesn't mean it's Nakiya right now. And only I know that. Nobody else knows that. But if somebody else sees it,
That's good.
and they're like, oh, that's Nakiya, they're like, you should be there. Why aren't you here? I'm at the audition. Want me to sign your name? All this stuff. And, you know, I used to, and sometimes still feel like this pressure to please others.
And then you take a look at it and you're like...
And then I'm like, no, like, that's not me. That's not where I shouldn't be there right now. And that allowed me to keep what I need for myself for the time when I know that it's a time for me to be in the room. Same thing with my personal projects that I have going on. There's a lot of things that I want to accomplish and have started now to build on them. But I don't share everything, and I can't share everything because what you do and then the time that you do it doesn't work for everyone else's timeline. So all of a sudden I'd find myself working hard, as I normally do, to fit someone else's timeline of when they think my idea should be done just because I told them about my idea.
I see what you mean.
You know, and I'm like, see, this is why you don't share things.
So you can work it at your own speed.
Right. So I can do it at my own speed. And if I feel that I'm getting stalled, then maybe I'll share it with somebody who I know inevitably is going to, you know, be like, so. And not because they want to make me work faster, but because that's people's nature. You ask them. They gravitate towards Yeah, they want to know more about it. That's it. Right. And that gave me room to really say, when I do work, my work ethic is going to be through the roof as always, but I'm not going to be burning myself out to please other people.
Yeah.
I don't have to do that.
Okay, so this leads us into a conversation we had the other day, and I heard this on the Tim Ferriss show, which is incredible. They were talking about, in this one particular episode, they were talking about how if you start hearing someone say that doesn't make sense, or you hear people saying that doesn't make sense, and usually you kind of like squint your eyes with it because it doesn't make sense to you.
Right.
And he was talking about how gold was going, completely paraphrasing, it was going down, and it never goes down. That doesn't make sense. And he listened because he heard that and realized, oh, well, the world always makes sense, but your puzzle, the way it fits into your logic, doesn't. But the world always makes sense. Right. So he knew that it had a lot further to go. And I've been thinking about that a lot lately with like things that don't make sense, because particularly, you know, if you're a creator, you're an artist and you're beginning, there's a lot of which way do I go? What do I do? What's telling me this sign pushed me this way, that way, and it's like we get a little clustered and flustered. So continuing that conversation, you probably already answered it with not going to certain auditions, even though they have Nakiya written all over it, because we talked about how things aren't making sense. Mm-hmm. And to us,
Right. Yes.
But they always make sense.
Yes.
And when I also have these thoughts of like, oh, should I go to a certain event or audition or something, and I have that conversation of, I'm talking myself into, am I talking myself into a bad idea or out of a good idea? But even if you're talking yourself into a bad idea or out of a good idea, you're still having the thought of, oh, it doesn't make sense. Does it make sense? Does this make sense what I'm saying?
Yes,
I'm throwing
yes.
a few things in there at the same time. I'm curious if there's anything you have to expand on that and how that has applied in your own life in terms of kind of finding your path, which will bring us into like the projects you're working on separately. But.
Okay. I will start with like I guess the first little
Yeah,
half
I know.
of
I
that.
threw a lot at you there, and I appreciate you just.
It's fine because most of it was the
rolling with the
recap,
punches.
so it's cool.
Great.
I would say about that it not making sense. I think that it's totally in line with what's supposed to happen in our lives, because as humans, we innately want control. We don't know.
We want everything to make sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're like, I know that life is going to be a bumpy ride, but still, can it be on the I-90 and not
That dirt path?
And not that you're like, you know it's going to be, you know
Next
it's,
to it?
you know what I mean? Like, you know it's going to be wild, but you
Yeah.
still want it to be your way.
Yeah.
And we have to learn that if everything went our way, I would say a good amount of us would probably not have the things we actually wanted out of life. If it went the way we think we want it. Because there's a difference between what we think we want and what we need. And if you get everything that you think you want, you could end up in a life that's totally different from how you saw the outcome. Because if I win $100,000,
This is good stuff.
like think about it. Like I win $100,000 today on the lottery,
Okay.
and then I book a national tour, and then after that, or during the national tour, I'm making a lot of money, and I'm like, oh, look at this is amazing. Look at all of this, and then all of a sudden, I'm racking in this money, not paying any kind of attention, and when I come back, I don't have a job because the tour is over.
Spend all the money?
Spent all the money, because who doesn't want to spend money when there's a lot of it?
Yeah.
Now, not only do my taxes look crazy, because remember, you have to pay your taxes, but now I don't have no money to do none of that.
Yeah.
You know what I
Okay.
mean? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
you were thinking like, oh, if this went this way, then it would be like this. But there are a bunch of variables that nobody thinks about. And so it helps when we look at our lives and we all reach that part that says, this doesn't make sense. I am doing everything in alignment with what I'm supposed to be doing, or what I think I'm supposed to be doing. I have the job. I secured the job. I went out and bought the books. I went out and studied. I did whatever. Why is this not lining up?
Why is it not working?
Yeah, why is it not
It
working?
doesn't make sense.
Because it's working for your good.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that. So when you mentioned that, I was like, that's so true. We all get there. Like, this doesn't make sense. But that's because in our own individual minds, our course is the way we always want to see it. It'll never be how it actually is.
Yeah.
So when we end up where we're supposed to be, then we'll be like, wait, okay.
And the part two to that is when something's not making sense, buckle up, because there's more that's not going to make sense.
Oh.
And it tends to go even further before it goes back to sensical land or whatever you want to.
Exactly.
Whatever you want to call it.
Exactly.
Now, between the two of us and people who've been listening to the podcast know that I've done a lot of creating this past year between the podcast and now we have this video element we're adding and so much more. Even the TV show and the other stuff that I put up on Instagram. And I know you're doing a lot of that as well. It can be difficult to begin.
Yes.
And I've talked to people this past year at all different levels, very established writers of Broadway shows, people more in our situation of beginning. And what have you learned about creating your own work and giving yourself permission to create your own work and telling the half of the mind, shut up, we're going to make it?
I've learned to just dive in, trust your gut, because you will never try to embark on an adventure, like truly embark on it, if it's not for you. You will start something, and if it's not where you're supposed to be, if it's not your creation, if it's meant for someone else, you won't finish it. You can't finish it because you don't have what's in you to activate that dream. But if it belongs to you, if it's what you're supposed to be doing, you can't sleep without thinking about it. You toss and you turn. It has to be done, and it has to be you. Just do it. All the chips will fall in line. The people you need to meet to help you get it done will be there. They will literally just start popping up.
Yep.
It's how it's supposed to happen. You don't have to think twice about a word that you're writing down because it's literally going to flow out of you. You're going to be like, what took me so long? Obviously, my brain and my hand are ready for this. Why was I hesitating? Because you thought you had to wait for someone to give you the money to get it done, or you thought someone had to tell you first that it was appropriate to think on your own, or to create.
Yeah.
No, that's not how it has to be, and we have to remind ourselves. We have to remind ourselves that everyone in this world at some point has an idea about something. We all want to create. And most of the things that you encounter in this world are because someone acted on their idea and they created it. So why can't you?
So, talking about creating these projects over the past year and allowing yourself to create them. Because, and this is, I'm repeating myself a little bit now, but with speaking to people who are established and their life path, it's very interesting to catch someone in it right now. And you're in it right now. And I'm in it right now. So I'm curious, how do you, along the lines of just do it, what have you been thinking?
Honestly, every day I go back and forth between this is not what I want to do.
What is it?
All the different projects.
Got it.
You know, I've always known that I've wanted to create different things, but in my timeline, you know, the path that I created for Nakiya, that wasn't happening till I was well established. I already had maybe 2 movies under my belt. Like, these were things I was like, no, this is what you do when you already have a certain following or things like that. So that way, you know, people can know, oh, that's why we would support that clothing line, or that's why we would read that.
We know who they are.
Right. And that's how I always saw it. So to be doing it now, my head is just going back and forth between like, but no, what about theater? What about singing? What about the thing that you told yourself you would be doing all this time until you came to these things? And I have to remind myself that I'm not walking away from anything that I want to do. I'm just adding on to what I want to do earlier than I had originally planned. And that the original plan can change at any moment, and it is okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. But that's the thing. There's a difference between life making the plan change and then you making the plan change.
Okay.
And for me, it wasn't life that was saying, now go do that new creation. It was me saying, you know what? I'm sitting here. I have the time.
Yeah.
Let's do the creation.
Okay.
Let's do it. And it's okay if it's going to be earlier. That's fine. But let's get it done.
Has it gotten easier?
No, it is not. Because every day I feel that feeling of what if it's not good enough? What if there's someone out there who does this thing better? What if this is not meant for me? Even when I know that it is, because I'm so connected to what I'm doing. And I think that's something that you always have as an artist, no matter what you create, because you're so close to it. That doubt is literally just kind of looming over it like, yeah, but who else can do this? Where has this been done before? You know, it's just so on. You're like, gosh, like, I get it. I know. And you do that to beat out other people. You allow doubt. We allow doubt to loom over us because we're trying to beat out the other people who are going to doubt us. And they doubt us because they haven't seen it been done before. And we doubt ourselves because we know that they haven't seen it done before.
They doubt us because they haven't seen it or done it before.
Right.
Which is so true. Because if you talk to anyone who's done it, they would have no reason to tell you.
Oh, yeah.
And this is like working on your own project, like going out and making your own work.
Right.
Do you have any sort of, or should I say, do the responses, view counts on things you create have any sort of bearing on whether or not you continue forward?
No, not anymore. In the beginning, they did.
For obvious reasons.
Yeah. Because I was like, oh, well, that's what it is. Duh. If people don't watch, then da 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 da.
Right.
But now, no, because I know that I'm doing what's true to me.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm being true to myself, I don't care who watches it. It doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. And in all actuality, it only takes one person who could truly help you to elevate to the level, elevate or get to whichever level you want to see it. That's all that matters, really. Like, I just put up a video on something on Instagram, and I tagged the artist of the song that I did a dance to.
Okay.
And he reposted my video of me dancing, and then someone else reposted the video of my dancing. Now, my post didn't have very many views, but it mattered to me that this man who created this song decided to repost me dancing to it. I haven't gone back to look at how many views he got, but it just mattered to me because I did it because it made me happy. I loved the song. I was like, oh, I'm so excited. This is great. And then I saw that and I was like, well, I'm glad you enjoyed my little dance, sir.
I got plenty more.
You know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
So it had nothing to do with what my number said.
Mm-hmm.
It reached one person. Celebrities get tagged and stuff all the time that they ignore.
Yeah.
So that's it. It just depends, I think, on who sees it, not how many of those who's see it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we're focusing on this so much right now because I do believe now more than ever, with the amount of outlets we have to communicate with people and the future of entertainment and the outlets in which it's consumed, now more than ever, if you're a performer of any type, should be putting out your own work, even if it's just you dancing in the stairwell of your building, which I know a bunch of dancers do, and I love them before bed. And that's the whole thing, though, because that's the future of it.
Right.
I believe. I mean, it could be, we'll take a look at this video in 10 years and see where we're at. But I have a feeling 10 years from now, it's going to be even more so. It's not about getting in with a massive company, like Warner Brothers or Universal. They're great, and it'd be cool to be a part of that. Mm-hmm. In the meantime, if you want to create something, you really have no excuse. And you should create it now.
Right. I agree. But I also feel, and I think this is because of just the views that I've normally always had about performing and performing specifically. Also creating as well, that you don't allow yourself to, I don't believe that we should allow ourselves to get into a headspace of creating or performing only for ourselves because we don't believe that we can do it for other people.
So we shouldn't get into the headspace of performing for ourselves because we believe we can't do it for anyone else.
Yeah. So saying to yourself, well, I'll perform in my stairwell and I'll put this video up.
Right.
And this is just for me. And I do this for me because I've been to 15 auditions and
comes from
right. You know what I mean? It doesn't come from a place of
giving generosity.
Right.
It comes from a scarcity, thirsty,
right.
hungry.
Right.
Got it.
Even
That's
though
good. That's
though
smart.
you want to be in a dance company, you know what I mean?
Right.
You all of a sudden now are just like, nope, that's not what I do. Or creating your own theater company and saying, I will give other people opportunities, which is something that I want to do and it's allowing me to create. But acting is my passion.
Yeah.
And while it's nice to be able to also cast myself in my own things, I mean, people do it. Hello, Lynn. Hey. People do it.
Yeah.
But are you doing it only because you've been to 15 auditions and no one will cast you and now you're thinking that you're not castable? because that's not the case. And if we allow ourselves to be afraid of, you use the fear of rejection to drive our creation, that creation doesn't last. And it's not true to who you are.
Because it's coming from scarcity,
Right.
not generosity.
Exactly.
That's good. That's really good. I know it's funny to think, because I do all these conversations out of order lately, and I have such a backlog through the holidays of conversations, that I spoke with Corey Campercholi the other night, and he traditionally went to NYU, studied drama. He was here in the city auditioning, going to stuff, and he was being told that he was not castable.
Right.
So what he did was write a show that is so undeniably him, no one else could be him, and it's called Femme. It's a short, I think it's 20-minute movie that's being developed into a TV show now.
Oh, nice.
But it came from generosity, and that was the focus of our conversation here. The episode will be coming out probably after this. That it was coming from generosity.
Right.
Because it was coming from generosity, there could be a more honest creation of himself and the art and the work. And you're not sitting there like, please, please, please do X, Y, and Z for me. I need. It's I have.
Exactly.
Let me give. And much like fear begets fear, generosity begets generosity, success begets success. It's like it's like a circle of life kind of thing. It just one goes into the next. So that's really smart. That's a really smart way of looking at it, the way you just said that. And obviously it works because other people are having the same success rate with it. So this coming year, in terms of goals, what have you learned from the past year? Like setting goals too big, setting goals too small, keeping them realistic, and for the upcoming year? Good, bad, otherwise, anything.
Okay, so what I normally do for my goals is set one large goal for the year and then break it down by month. I find that having one large goal over the year works for me. Yeah. Because then when I go to my monthly goals, it's always some derivative of that larger goal. So even if I break it off and say, okay, for the month, for the year, I want to write 2 books. Then for January, I'll read more so I can continue to study different styles of books. Then I can write short stories. And that could be a goal that I have for February. And I could do all these little things so that when the whole year is complete, not only have I built the skill to write those 2 books, but I've also accomplished the larger goal of writing the 2 books. So I'm feeding into the larger goal and still accomplishing the larger goal. So
yeah, keep going.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm getting excited.
So for are we talking about January right now of 2019?
Yeah.
Okay, so for 2019,
You got it.
It's like, wow, where are we? So for 2019, I do have a large goal, which I'm not going to.
For the month?
Yes.
Okay, a large goal
for the
for
whole
the
year.
month.
No, I have a large goal for the year.
Okay.
I break down the month into smaller goals, and I used to do a long time ago large goals for the month, but I would get overwhelmed. So when I do smaller goals, not only can I get more accomplished because they're these little dots and they're not things that take up like all my time or make me feel overwhelmed.
Right.
Like they look small, so I'm like, oh, I can get that done.
Yeah.
So that's what I do.
Okay.
So I have smaller goals for January, and then that one large goal spans over the whole year. So for January, my goal is to maintain my gym membership, and that's
like
a gym
membership,
working out.
like getting
Yes.
there. Okay. Yeah.
And I say that because I've been doing a lot of moving around. So every time I move, I have to cancel the membership, and then it takes me a couple days to like get together in the new gym, and and I like consistency. Yeah. So my goal, one of my smaller goals, is to be consistent in that transition because I am moving January 1st. So I'm already
For those
thinking.
only listening to this, you can't see her face. It's loaded.
It's loaded. But I'm moving again. So I'm already looking at the area that I'm hopefully going to be staying in and the gyms nearby. So that way I can have it all set up and I don't have to worry about transitions or any of that. The same thing. So that's one of my goals for January. Another January goal, is to lose weight. I do have a certain number attached to it. It's 5 to 7 pounds.
That's just January.
Yeah, that's just January. That's just January. And that's going to take a lot of discipline.
Yes.
And I'm not afraid of that. I've been training myself to be disciplined.
Be more honest.
And be more honest with myself for the last couple of years, but especially in these last couple of months.
How did you, specifically with this number 5 to 7, how did you come up with that? Is there a short answer?
Is there a short answer?
Yeah, as to how you came up with the number of pounds you want to lose for the month.
Yes. So one of my big overall goal is a certain number in pounds.
Great.
So losing that amount will get me to the size that I want to be at.
Great.
And so I break it down per month.
Got it.
What is sustainable
Yeah.
and what is going to get me to my goal for the year.
Wonderful.
So 5 to 7 pounds a month will get me to where I'm looking to go. And I won't even look at it as 5 to 7 pounds a month. I'll really break it down to 1 to 2 pounds a week. I'll write it down on my calendar, say this week our goal is, and it'll be 2 pounds less than what I was at the start of the week.
That's wonderful. That's good.
So
How have the goals gotten more manageable for you? Like, have you set unrealistic goals and learned a lesson about it and then set too small? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, have you fluctuated with that?
Oh, well, in the past, definitely I've set unrealistic goals, especially with weight loss, because we just want everything
Done.
quick and easy. Right, right. Or, realizing like, oh my gosh, I was in this place last year. I can't believe I'm like not in that place anymore, and not in a good way. And so you just say, okay, well, if I want to get to this place, then I got to do this. And then you make it so big and so overwhelming. And then of course, you don't hit the goal because you're too busy just thinking to yourself, well, I was already in this place, so like this shouldn't be an issue. And you think you have it handled, but you don't. And it's overwhelming, and you don't even realize how overwhelmed you are until it's 3 months away from your time. And you're like, there's no way in the world
We're not going to be on the moon by that date.
It won't happen.
We cannot get to the moon by that date.
Exactly. So
Okay.
I have done that, but I don't do that anymore because I am done with letting myself down.
Yeah.
In that way. Sometimes we unexpectedly let ourselves down, But in that way, I'm like, that doesn't make me feel good. And that's not something I want to be a part of. There are so many different variables in life and in the world that bring us down or can bring us down. Why add to it? Yep. We shouldn't be a part of that. And if you can help it, don't be a part of it. So I am not setting unrealistic goals. And I think another part of accomplishing those goals and how I plan to accomplish them is who gets to know what. That's why nobody on this podcast knows my large number. Because if someone comes up to me, if they hear this and they don't believe it's possible to lose 5 to 7 pounds in a month, that's a lot easier to shake off than to say, your whole goal that you had for the year of 2019 is not possible. Because the month of January turns into the month of February, but 2019 will always be 2019 until 2020 comes. So I'm not going to say my big goal because I already, I know what I have to keep. I see the mentality on it, and I think it's really smart because in a sense, you're protecting yourself. Yeah.
Because there's so many variables that you can't control. Why add to it if something in your own life changes where you're like, oh, now this accountability, because sometimes it's good to share stuff for accountability. Yeah. But that's why you say 5 to 7 this month, and you freely say it over and over again, but not. So that's smart. Right. Yeah. It's when to hold yourself accountable with other people is also really intelligent way of operating. I really like that.
Thank you. And I know from past experiences what I need to share to keep myself accountable.
Great.
So I've already learned that.
Great.
And there are new things that I'm learning too with my new creative endeavors. I'm learning right now when to share.
Yeah.
If I want to share.
Right.
And ask myself, why do I want to share? Do I want to share because I want the instant gratification that I'm creating and I just want someone to be like, ooh, you create things? Or am I sharing because I'm looking for an objective opinion on what I'm doing?
Yep.
Do I need the objective opinion or am I looking for approval? You know, what are the answers or what are the questions I need to ask myself to then know if I should definitely be doing whatever it is I'm about to do?
Yeah.
And I think that's important. It's not only about protecting yourself, but it's also about being honest with yourself. I got to be honest with me. Otherwise, I'll just be around here doing who knows what. Who knows what.
Yeah. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank
I know
you.
this is about less than half the amount of time we spent the first time we talked.
Yes.
January. I think it was January 20-something
That's
of
crazy.
2018. So this is a shorter one, but I appreciate you sitting down now on camera as well, in live and living color.
Yes.
Nakiya Peterkin. Okay, so as this is this is turning into the random show today on Christmas Eve, which is great. I love it how many things we're covering. I love it. I just love it.
I'm sorry. Can I share something real
Go
quick?
for it.
I'm
Hop
so
in.
sorry. I just wanted to come back to like your survival jobs and day jobs. Not everyone has a job that is a job that they do like for their career. Some people work other jobs like day jobs or survival jobs to supplement, you know, their creative endeavors or wherever the case is. And I found recently, after digging and digging and digging, the truth that will allow me to be happy in my day job. And I just think it's important for anyone out there who is listening or watching or whatever the case is to know that you can always find joy in whatever you do. And that includes the things that you do on the side of what you actually do. You don't have to take a job serving if that doesn't bring you joy just because you need money. You can search, you can find things that make you happy, that they may not be your number one priority in your life, but they are priorities in your life.
And more attainable.
And more
like
attainable.
You can get that job much easier than, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah, so I just recently discovered that, and when it made me so happy. Like, it came to me, and I was like, "Duh, why didn't I think of this? Like, why didn't I think of this before?
Why was I trying all this other stuff?
Right? Why was I doing all this extra just to
I
make?
could've been-
I'm like, literally, I could still make the money. It's not what I ultimately want to do, but it is something that makes me happy when I do it.
Yeah.
So that's all I wanted to share for the people. You can still do things that make you happy when you do it, even if it's not the number one thing you want to do.
I love that. There's so much I love about this conversation. So thank you for sitting down, and I'm glad that we can actually share these things that we're learning over time, like in live time, like instantly, because like we're not at the end game of where we want to be. We're definitely no longer at the beginning, even of this past year. So it's incredible to be able to document and hopefully communicating about it while it's happening, while this life path journey is going on. Other people can grow from it because they can see like what it is right in the trenches right now, what we're doing.
Right.
As this is falling, that doesn't make any sense. As this is falling on Christmas. Is that a correct sentence? Is that grammatically correct?
As this is falling on Christmas. That sounds right to me.
There we go.
I always say things.
Because the episode is coming out on
There you
Christmas.
go. We'll go with that.
Favorite Christmas movie? Holiday movie?
Favorite holiday movie? I would have to say Jingle All the Way.
Why?
Gosh, I don't know. It's just,
Arnold.
It's just
Turbo
a great
Man.
story. It's just a great story. He fights so hard, and Sinbad is hilarious. He's just an evil little mailman.
Put the cookie down now.
Literally, it's just so good. You grow up on those movies, and you're like, what else is there? What else is there? So I would have to say Jingle All the Way is my fave.
I haven't seen that this year.
This year or?
Like this season.
Oh.
But by the time this airs, I will have seen it, and it's great. Oh, so glad I watched it again. The magic of television. What is, and I want to say, because it's like, why would you say this about other people? What are you going to focus on through this month of December and carry into the new year? I know there's a lot, so it's kind of which one to pick. I was going to say, what do you think people should focus on? I'm trying to riff off the Billboard quote that I got from Tim Ferriss. Thank you, Tim. Enjoy this show. Hope you're watching. Or if you are, great. What is there any theme or any word, phrase that you're focusing on?
A word that I am focusing on is self-loyalty. And that's not really a word. They're two separate words. But I'm saying that because I know that, especially this time of year that's so heavy in society on giving, even though I like give of myself all the time, I know that I also need to give unto myself. And I don't do that very much. And I think if I allow myself to be loyal to Nakiya, then I will give myself more of what I need. When I need something, I can say, this doesn't work for me, or this does work for me. And that's why I say self-loyalty, because if I'm more loyal to me, I will be able to properly give.
Self-loyalty.
Self-loyalty.
Which is difficult because I do now more than ever, but I used to never think about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like, we don't think about that. So what do I have to do for others? Or, you know, it's really like self-loyalty.
Yeah. Be loyal to yourself. You deserve loyalty as well. And who's going to be more loyal to you than you?
This is great. Thanks for doing this.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Nakiya Peterkin. Happy holidays!
Happy holidays!
Oh, don't hit the mic.
Oh.
Don't worry. That's good. That's great. Thanks for doing it.
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for having me.
I'm wondering what I should do for...
But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward.
To infinity and beyond!
Some people without brains do an awful lot of talking, don't they?
It's classified.
You talking to me?
I could tell you, but then I'd have to kill you.
Expecto Patronum!
Entertainment X.
You never know what you're gonna get.